Thanks for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. As always, a bunch to break down this past Friday. Jacare versus Mousasi, the rematch, along with a lot of fun fights in Foxwoods. We had Overeem versus Rothwell, Matt Mitrione and Derek Lewis, and a fun fight between Joe Lauzon and Michael Chiesa. We're going to talk about the bad blood between them. We're going to also talk about the talk between Anthony Rumble Johnson and Alex Gustafsson. Are they going to fight? Is Gustafsson going to wait for a title shot? Ben Askren cut off Inside MMA. We'll touch on that. Mike Tyson cussing out a reporter. Joe Rogan catching heat, saying John Jones gets hate and it's racist. We're also going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night, Silva versus Arlovski, and this upcoming card this Saturday. Let's do it.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
That's right, it is the MMA Podcast, and we got a whole bunch to break down. But before we do so, we are joined by two of my close friends, two close MMA analysts, if you will. The first one I've been to Vegas with twice now to catch fights. He's going to UFC Japan. I think his plane leaves in like 4 or 5 days, something crazy. Alan, what's up? Where do we find you on the Twitters?
What's up, everybody? It's wonderful to be here. You can catch me on Twitter, Westland Eagle AH. Follow me so you can catch out all the late breaking news on scene in Japan. I'll be bringing you all kinds of exciting things. Hopefully, I'll be able to meet up with some of the Korean top team coaches and get some insider information for you guys.
So when exactly are you flying out there?
I am flying out from Houston International Airport Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on Air Canada.
And then you were gonna have a week in Japan. We'll try and see if we can add you on to the call next week. But if not, I'm really looking forward to your stories there. I'm sure it's gonna be a hell of a time. UFC Japan, holy shit. And of course, you know him as the host of the Word on the Street podcast. Last week, we didn't have a word on the street because he chickened out of the gentleman's bet that will have to be paid up next week on the Word on the Street. We made a bet. I took Jacare, he took Gegard. The loser has to kill himself in the next Word on the Street. And Ramses, you only have a week left. How are you? Where do we follow you?
There will be an accounting for the wager, the gentleman's wager that we made about Mousasi versus Jacare. Trust me, that bill will come due, but guess what? Things are not what they seem.
Doesn't need to be your life, just as long as someone dies, I'm happy.
Well, a little preview here, I'm going to argue that I didn't lose at all. But, in the meantime, people, thanks, Jake, for having me on the MMA Podcast. It's an honor for you to have me on. As always, just bringing you the latest. I've got the edgy commentary. I'm a guy that doesn't play by the rules, so to speak. I'm a renegade. I got the spiky hair. I got everything in people. I've talked to a lot of people back down from the edge because I'm just here saving lives, and that's what it's all about. Just talking MMA and saving people's lives. God bless everybody. Let's talk about some MMA. Let's get into this, and I apologize in advance for my hot takes. Word on this.
Sometimes you hide your weed and you don't know where you put it, but you get high and you'll find it.
Yeah, and you can always follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Visit themmapodcast.com. Click the links at the top for the iTunes and the YouTube. Let's dive right in as we usually do to last weekend's card. They went head to head with Bellator, and before we actually talk about the UFC card, apparently Bellator was really close. A lot of people were thinking that ratings wise the UFC was going to blow them out. But Bellator, didn't have as many viewers. It would have been a shock if they did, but they actually kept up with them. What do you think about the whole Bellator and UFC going up against one another, Alan? I know you're not in that area, but would have been difficult as someone living in the Northeast to choose where I wanted to go, where I wanted to tune in, all that good shit.
I didn't even get to watch Bellator, man, but I thought it was a really crazy idea. I thought it was kind of, risking, going for broke whenever they announced that they were going to have this event and that each place, it was like 5 minutes away from each other. I thought it was insane, but, apparently Bellator didn't do too bad. I think Bellator actually didn't have the bigger of arena, and didn't they have a bigger live gate? Or at least a bigger attendance. I think they had more in attendance than the UFC did.
Yeah, I have the UFC numbers in front of me, not the Bellator numbers. I just know most people were looking at the television ratings as sort of a score as far as who won the head-to-head battle.
Yeah, I don't really look too much into that. I just thought it was really competitive that Bellator was able to draw as many people as they did at the live attendance. I know they gave away a whole bunch of tickets, but I think they actually did sell more tickets. They might not have made more money, but they did sell more tickets than UFC. So that just goes to show you that, whenever the, markets, whenever you have two events that are like that close to each other, two different programs, that, people are going to go see them both. There's not any type of oversaturation. It's competition, and that's what's really good. I know Bellator is not anywhere close to where the UFC is, but seeing that type of competition in like local markets, I'm all for it, man. And I was very excited and surprised at what happened.
Ramses, what are your thoughts on the head-to-head UFC versus Bellator after it's all said and done?
This just the UFC went into this thing. They put on their pay-per-view versus a free show, and so of course the only reason Bellator got views is because it was free, and a lot of people weren't going to buy this pay-per-view, but it just proves that Bellator cannot compete with a UFC pay-per-view at this point. I'm sorry. I don't care what the scheduling is, what happens. Tito versus Rampage, Tito versus Bonner, whatever they put on, it cannot compete with the UFC pay-per-view still. It won't even get close. Not when you compare what a UFC pay-per-view buy is worth compared to someone just watching on free TV. It won't. It's not comparable. It's not even like a fair discussion to have. But the UFC still doing impressive numbers with the fact that they were competing against Bellator. They whooped their ass. And let's be honest here. Why aren't we talking about the only thing that matters about this Bellator event? The ridiculousness that went down. Is that even on the docket?
Yeah, we are going to talk about Stephan Bonner and Tito, the ridiculousness that went down. But let's dive into the UFC Fight Night card. Let's start with the prelims, 5 fights that were on Fox Sports 1. Chaz Skelly and Chris Beal defeating Sean Soriano and Tateki Matsuda, both via unanimous decision. Rafael Natal defeating Chris Camozzi, who Chris just seems to lose a lot of close fights. He loses another close one here via split decision. Ali Aquina winning via a pretty impressive third-round TKO over the Brazilian and Tough Brazil alumni Rodrigo Dam. And John Moraga versus Justin Scoggins. Scoggins just dove in there a little too carelessly on a takedown, and Moraga caught him with a guillotine, winning with 47 seconds left in the second round. We'll save the main card after we break down the prelims, but what stood out here to me, Skelly looked really awesome. Sean Soriano is an impressive dude. coming out of the Black Zillions camp, and Skelly put him away easily, 30-27 across the board. I liked that. I liked Al's TKO, and Scoggins is my favorite flyweight, but hats off to John Moraga for a really impressive guillotine choke with less than a minute left in the second round. I really didn't expect that jits coming from John. So it really shows that he's starting to evolve a lot as a fighter. Alan, what did you think of the prelims?
I thought they were very entertaining, man. These prelims were much better than some of the main cards that we've seen on pay-per-view and the last couple of pay-per-views, to be honest, except for maybe the main events. Yeah, I'm with you with the Skelly thing, man. His last fight was fucking amazing, and his fight against Soriano. I mean, Soriano was beating Kawajiri up until the second round in that fight. Really good guy, trains with high-level talent, was touted as, one of the big up-and-coming guys in the 145-pound division. And Skelly, he's huge for the division. He's gigantic compared to these other guys. And his grappling is just, he's not even a black belt, but his situational awareness and just the way that he uses his physical size, the dude's a talent, and he's very skilled. And I see him as long as he doesn't fight like top level strikers. I see him, maybe cracking the top 10 one day. And then as far as the John Moraga fight, I wasn't impressed at all. It was more of, Scoggins just made a mistake was what it all boils down to. It wasn't that John Moraga actually did anything impressive. He's still going to get his ass beat by everybody else in the division. I don't think he's as good as everybody says he is. I think he's actually really slow and has terrible takedown defense. Gets taken down by guys that are half his size. I think just Scoggins just got over anxious. He'd left American Top Team for this camp, and I don't think that was the smart thing to do. And I think these two losses for Scoggins, I think that's going to end up making him a better fighter in the end, because I think they were moving him along too far, too quickly, giving him these big names. And I think this is just going to, the dude's like 22 years old. It's just going to help him. So, yeah, those two things really stood out to me. The other thing I did want to mention was the Christopher Bills and Tateki Matsuda. Like, Matsuda's record's not really that great. I think he's like 4 or 5 fights above 500. He fights out of Boston. I think he trains with like Joe Lozon and them. But I thought he was going to get blown out of the water. This was like a late last minute, fight that he took on 6 or 7 days notice. And I thought Chris Bills was just going to annihilate him. And the kid freaking impressed me. You guys know I'm all about the Asian fighters. And when I see a guy that's got resilience like that and he's really talented and just, needs to tweak a couple of things to turn that corner and take the next step in the evolution of his game, it really impressed me because Chris Bills is a really good fighter. So, that was really cool to me to see a guy unknown come out and have a great performance. Rafael Natal and Kamosi, man, like you said, I don't know what Chris's problem is, but he goes in there, he fights hard, but and I think he won this fight, but he makes it too close. He lets the fights be way too close, and you just can't do that in the UFC. The way these judges are, and how all this is played out in the last couple of years, it's crazy. So it's his own fault. You can't go in there and criticize him because it's his fight, but it's his own fault. It's nobody else's. It's his performance, and he knows what he needs to do. So the Ally Quinta fight and Rodrigo Dam, I definitely think Dam looks better at 155, but he just he's not going to be able to hang with these guys. And Al's striking is just getting better each time he steps into the octagon. Impressed the hell out of me. So as long as Iaquinta's not fighting anybody who can take his back and get a rear naked choke, Ross, I think Iaquinta, he's got some bright future ahead of him.
Nah, man, the Jacare versus Mousasi card, the prelims, the first three fights, I have to say, were stinkers. I was watching them; they all went to decision. Once it was the third fight, Kamosi versus Rafael Natal. When Chris lost the decision, like that was it. I got to be honest, I took a nap. I missed Moraga versus Scoggins. I was drifting off, man. It was 3 decisions in a row, and then Chris Kamosi again does the same thing he always does. It's like, dude, just let your hands go. If he would have just like faked like more aggressiveness, even a little bit, he would have stolen the fight and won easily just in front of the judges. I think he got ripped off actually. But yeah, Alan, you're totally dead on, man. If he would have just done 1 or 2 flashy moves, thrown out a combo, something, just to make himself look a little bit more aggressive, he would have won the damn fight. But yeah, at that point, I drifted off. I took a nap. I missed the rest of the prelims. That's the way it went down. That's the bottom line.
Well, I hope you were able to wake up for the main card, because the first 3 fights of the 4-fight main card, all of them finished with finishes, and the first 3 were all KOs or TKOs. All of them pretty early too. We had Joe Lauzon defeating Michael Chiesa. The doc stops at about halfway through the second round. Just a horrible gash over his eye. And then 2 heavyweight fights, and we know how those fights usually end. First round KO, Matt Mitrio defeating Derek Lewis just 41 seconds into their scrap. And then Ben Rothwell, a huge underdog against Alistair Overeem. A TKO, first round, 2 minutes and 19 seconds in. We'll save Jacare versus Gegard for its own topic. But these 3 finishes, Lauzon, Mitrione, and Rothwell, obviously the one that stands out is Big Ben, a guy who, isn't really touted as a top striker at all, KOing a multiple-time world champion. Just absolutely crazy. Alan, what did you take from these three KOs?
Yeah, man, it was really crazy because the Michael Chiesa fight, man, that just like burned my ass up really bad. The blood wasn't really affecting him. I know the cut was bad, but I mean, shit, look what Diego Sanchez fought with. Look what Joe Lauzon's fought with numerous times. They could have let that fight go at least to the end of the round. That was bullshit. And it's like Joe Lauzon saying that, it's almost like he thinks he really won that fight when, I mean, that's basically Randy Couture versus Vitor Belfort fucking getting stopped because of the cut that Randy had. Nobody won that fight because the fight wasn't finished and there was no decisive, action. I mean, Chiesa was actually on the offensive whenever, the fight ended. So they got to have a rematch. It needs to be 5 rounds or they need to be a co-main event for a fight night card. It's one of the old guard, Joe Lauzon versus up-and-comer tough live season winner Michael Chiesa, and they're both just, they bring it, and it was an amazing fight, and we got robbed. But definitely there needs to be a fucking rematch, and I want to see it. Man, I was so happy that Matt Mitrione got rid of this bum Lewis. You don't come out and win one fight in the UFC and then call out Matt Mitrione, who I think like 90% of his fights, or 80% of them were all in the UFC. I mean, you just don't do that. Yeah, you got more fights than him, but you don't have UFC experience. And he went in there and got knocked out because he doesn't have that experience. Just rushed in like a typical big heavyweight and got knocked the fuck out. So, it was awesome, Matt Mitrione. Man, Alistair Overeem, what can I say? You were a dick to me, so I'm glad you got knocked the fuck out. But I will have to say that he looked very impressive at the beginning of the fight. Striking, he was looking really crisp. I'm not going to shit on Big Ben because Roth, he goes out there and he puts on a show, win or lose. I think he got robbed in the fight with Kane. Yeah, he was getting dominated, but he wasn't anywhere close to being finished. But he's been on a tear as of late, and just I think he's so underrated. And for him to knock out Overeem even after getting his arm broken by Overeem is really crazy. So, props to him. I don't know what Overeem's going to do. I think he should drop down to 205, but, who knows? But, yeah, that was my what the fuck moment of the night.
Yeah, man. Okay. Joe Lozon versus Michael Chiesa, whatever the hell his name is. I don't even know, man. I won a lot of money because I do not like this Michael Chiesa, the Ultimate Fighter guy. He fights really slow and stiff, and like every fight is it's painful for me to watch. It's like grueling. It's like the same thing. It's like, oh, his miracle choke at the end. Now I don't get it. Maybe he does have talent. I don't know, but I put a lot of money on Joe Lozon. I'm not even a Joe Lozon fan, dude, but he came through. He did it. I don't care how it was done. The guy's face, his eyelid was just busted in half. It's no coincidence. We saw the same thing happen at Joe way back in the day. I think Joe trained how, he knows how he was cut. He trained and mastered the technique, and for that reason alone, Michael does not deserve any sort of rematch whatsoever. He was beaten straight up. You were in a real life situation. It's conceivable that Michael was going to bleed to death. Therefore, Joe Lozon is the winner. I won a lot of money. God bless Joe the Joe. Matt Mitrione, the Meathead versus Derek Lewis. Really, I didn't care about this fight. When it's heavyweights, I usually don't give a damn. It's just two meatheads. It's whichever one connects first. I'm sorry. I don't even bet these fights except for the most disappointing match of the night. My hero. I don't know what he did what he did to insult you, Alan. You're gonna have to tell me. But Alistair Overeem, definite hero of mine. Good friend. Just had a bad night against Ben Rothwell, who is just a slow slugger himself, but he landed a lucky one. But Alistair, he was completely owning and dominating for at least the first minute or two. He was destroying this man, and it happened to him before in the Bigfoot fight. He got a little cocky all of a sudden, then he gets clipped, and then oh shit, one clip leads to another. Unfortunate for Alistair, but I believe he will be back. I support him 100%. He deserves every penny of the $250,000 he's being paid per fight, rumored, allegedly. Ben Rothwell, man, you got lucky. Congratulations. Alistair Overeem versus Brendan Schaub needs to happen. The fights want it. Screw the Travis Brown fight. Make it happen, Uncle Dana. Alistair Overeem still in the top 10, and in my mind, the fan favorite, so therefore still undefeated. That's the word on the street.
Hell yeah, and we will move on to the main event, Jacare versus Gegard. Both of you guys picked Gegard last week, and honestly, I can't blame you. He is a world-class fighter, still in my eyes, if not a top 5 middleweight, easily a top 10. The guy has awesome striking, the guy has awesome grappling, but Jacare just made it his fight, tying him up, pushing him up against the cage, getting into the clinch, and then finally, with about 40 seconds to go in the third of 5 rounds, he grabbed a guillotine, pulled guard, squeezed it tight, forced Gegard to tap. It didn't take long at all. Jacare getting the win and seemingly putting himself next in line after Vitor for a middleweight title shot. What did you guys think of the fight? Should Jacare get a title fight next? I'll pass to you first, Alan.
Holy shit. Yeah, I was super surprised. I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. I thought Gegard would be a lot quicker. Souza, as the fights go on, he tends to get tired, and he tends to be a little slower. And I I don't know, man. Gegard, I just thought he would be a little bit harder to take down. But, yeah, that wasn't the case. And Souza basically just, is a way bigger guy. He's way thicker, heavier. And a guy with jiu-jitsu skill like that knows how to be heavy. I can attest, Yao the Truth. The boy's got some lay and pray skills. And, it's hard to get somebody like that off of you whenever they're just laying there and just smothering you. And then, you add strikes in there and it's even 10 times more dangerous. And, he went in there and finished off Mousasi. Like Mousasi said, he made him want to quit. And he hasn't ever had that happen really in a long time. So hats off to Souza, man. I was wrong. But I still don't think the jackass has anything for Chris Weidman. Boom. Suck it, Brazil.
Wow. Yeah, another moment of honesty from me, people. Once Overeem lost, I again started to drift out and again took a little like half nap. I was half watching the fight, Mousasi versus Jacare, but I did drift off. Since then, I've attempted to watch the fight at least 2 or 3 times, but it's one of those things. Maybe you guys, Alan, Jake, or anybody out there listening knows what I'm talking about. When you already know who won the fight, but you're rewatching it for the first time. You're kind of, a part of you is only half-assed watching. You're like, oh man, what other YouTube video should I look up? What other tab am I going to open up? I got dual screens here. And, I'm not even paying attention. I'm just looking at my Twitter feed watching this fight. That's how I've seen this fight. So I haven't broken it down. I've seen it 3 or 4 times, but I've never actually paid 100% attention to it. I believe that Jacare was just a human blanket, but he did legitimately win the fight. However, I will point out that this only makes them even. Jacare did not actually beat Mousasi. He tied him. Word on the street.
So is this why you're not going to pay up to our bet we made last week on the word on the street?
Yeah, I would have already blown my brains out if I thought I legitimately lost the gentleman's wager. But no, this makes them even. He has not. The bet was that he would beat Mousasi. He has not beaten Mousasi. He has actually now just barely tied the man. We do need the rubber match, the third fight, in order to determine who is actually the best fighter. And I think that's fair, and that's why I'm still alive. Otherwise, I if you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's what Chael Sonnen taught me. You have to be a man of your word, and I am. But that's why I have not killed myself yet, Jake, because I do not believe that Mousasi has actually been beaten yet. He's just been tied. Word on the street.
Fair enough. Let's get to the news, people. And we're going to kick it off with what most people were talking about today. Recently, Joe Rogan, talking with Mike Dolce on his own podcast, gave some insight to Jon Jones, talked about why Jon Jones isn't universally loved, pointed to racism. We actually have the comments here. We'll let you listen for yourself. Courtesy of the powerful JRE YouTube channel, The Joe Rogan Experience. Let's have you listen to Rogan himself talking about Jon Jones.
Those Jon Jones type characters. I mean, they're naturally controversial.
Absolutely, they're not like the rest of us.
Yeah,
fortunately or not, that's what makes them special. I agree.
But I don't know why Jon is not more loved or popular than he is. I don't understand it, because in my opinion, I will never miss a fucking Jon Jones pay-per-view.
Hell yeah.
And I would think that anybody who, like, I've heard people say, oh, he's cocky, oh, he's this, and I wonder what the fuck is going on with that. And I'm going to throw this out there. I'm just going to say it. I wonder how much of it is racism.
Oh, wow.
I really do.
You went there.
I did.
Bam.
I did.
Uh-oh.
You know why? Because I think they look at him as this cocky black guy.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people have an issue with that. And I think that if he was a white guy and he was doing the same thing, a la Chael Sonnen, I think he'd be way more popular. And Chael was never the successful athlete that John is, but I think that Chael was way more successful as a promoter than John is. And John has not been nearly as cocky or outwardly braggadocious as Chael was.
And he would continue a minute later saying all of this shit.
I always found it odd when everybody would get upset at him and say that they didn't like that he's cocky or that he's just like, he's 25 and he's the UFC light heavyweight champion. He's the youngest ever UFC champion. He destroyed Shogun to win the title. Yeah. And I mean destroyed. He threw a flying knee and hit Shogun on the chin 5 seconds into their fight. I mean, John Jones is a motherfucker. Yeah. Period. He's a motherfucker. But for whatever reason, people have had an issue with that. I know I'm going to get a bunch of hate tweets. Fuck you, you fucking bullshit. You fucking, what, you got white guilt? Calling out racism. That's okay. I'm still reeling from the fucking pro wrestling fans mad at me for their last episode. Not really, folks. Doesn't bother me. Pro wrestling fans are really mad at me because my friend Tony Hinchcliffe was on. I was mocking him and joking around about pro wrestling. I really don't,
and that's a whole nother issue we'll touch on. But if you want to talk about both of them, you can, Alan. But man, Rogan catching a lot of heat, talking all this stuff about pro wrestling, talking all this stuff about John Jones. What are your thoughts on him totally throwing, pro wrestling and all that under the bus, and B, saying that if you don't like John Jones, you're a racist, basically?
I mean, this is really funny to me, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, Joe Rogan. But John Jones doesn't really strike me as like the stereotypical black guy that people are normally racist against. Like normally, like when people are racist, it's like I'm trying to think. It's to
trying to think of a word you can't use on the air.
It's to a certain like type of, either the white ethnicity or the black ethnicity or the Hispanic ethnicity. It's
think of that Chris Rock joke.
It's normally to the thugs. Okay, that's where racism, like in modern day and time, like where generally people tend to be racist. I find the most. And nothing about John Jones really strikes me as a black guy. I don't identify John Jones as a black guy. I identify John Jones as a UFC fighter that's arrogant, that says stupid shit and talks shit to his fans and moons people in the lobby of the Westin Hotel, women, children, old people, just a disrespectful cunt. I don't identify him as a race. And for Joe Rogan to go out there and to say that he thinks that people don't like John Jones because they're racist, no, Joe Rogan. People don't like John Jones is because they cannot identify with him because they can't see past his arrogance and the mistakes that he makes, because he makes mistakes and then right after he's made one tries to apologize, and talk out of the other side of his fucking mouth. You can't do that. John Jones is two-faced and people see him for that. That is why people don't like John Jones. Yes, he is a great martial artist, but people aren't going to buy tickets to see a guy that they just could care less about. You can try and get guys to buy tickets to see people that they see a guy get his ass whipped, but truth be told, people, it's not because John Jones is black. That has nothing to do with it. It's because he's just not money. The dude's a great fighter, but people, they just don't identify with him. That's why kids don't really look up to him that much, because he's not a role model. Yoo-hoo. So, that's my 2 cents. John Jones is a guy. He's not a black guy. And I don't dislike him because he's black. I dislike him because he's a cunt.
You know what? This is one of the occasions when Alan said it better than I could have, man. Yeah, the thing with John Jones, it has nothing to do with race as far as I'm concerned either. I mean, I didn't even know John Jones was black until Rogan brought it up on his podcast yesterday or whenever it was. John Jones, I don't like him. I dislike him because of everything that happened in the build-up to the Chael fight. John Jones has been a dick personally to people that I actually know. All right. He's been a dick to Jake, the host of this very podcast from the MMA podcast. We gotta get you to retell that, Jake, what went down between you and John Jones on Twitter. Not to mention the fact that he mooned and exposed himself to our friend Elena. I won't even get into what she was going through, but now she's got to deal with some asshole. That happened. He also allegedly at the weigh-ins walkout, he threw his shoes in the crowd and hit someone in a wheelchair. He refuses to sign replica belts for fans, even little kids. It doesn't matter who you are. He won't sign that belt because he feels it degrades his own belt. How fucking pompous is that? This guy brushes off fans. Remember a couple weeks ago, he was straight up making fun of just a gay person, a gay guy on Twitter, a gay fan on Twitter, and then he claimed his phone was hacked, and that story went away real quick. But guess what? I'm not forgetting. John Jones is an asshole. Joe Rogan, you got it all wrong on this one. I love you to death, Joe. You know I do, man. I started the Joe Rogan subreddit, to be honest. God bless him. But on this one, he's way off, man. People don't hate John Jones because he's black. It's because of his actions. He is being judged not by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character, Joe Rogan. And that's the bottom line. Jake, tell him what he did to you.
Yeah, it was pretty silly. It was back when he had DM'd Tyson Griffin a bunch of really immature shit, and he tweeted something at Tim Kennedy, I think, like, thanks for saying so and so. You're a really good teammate. I thought I had seen Kennedy say something against Jones, so I thought Jones was being sarcastic. So I tweeted him something really innocent, like, oh man, just because he's his teammate doesn't mean he has to have your back 24/7. I didn't, degrade him or insult him or anything. I was just like, yeah, just the fact that he's your teammate doesn't mean that he has to always have your back, like, no matter what the issue is. And then Jones tweets back at me, hey dude, I would love to be on your show at some point. And I was like, I feel like you're trolling me, but if you're serious, follow us on Skype, so-and-so. And he's like, yeah, totally wasn't. And then he goes on my Instagram and trolls a bunch of pictures, like saying, oh, fuck you, it's snowing, and call it like the worst he could come up with was a picture of my parking lot in May with snow all over the cars, saying, you mad, bro? Like, it was, it like wasn't the, most dirty of insults, but still, the fact that the guy's a world champion and he's coming across like a 15-year-old troll. Come the fuck on. Alan, I'll throw it to you before we move on. John Jones, will he have the belt after January 3rd, his fight against Daniel Cormier? Yes or no?
If I have to murder John Jones with my own two hands, he will not be carrying that belt after January 3rd.
Metaphorically speaking. Yeah, all metaphorically speaking, I'm sure on Alan's. But I will say, yeah, Jones, you're slipping, man. You're slipping here. And that's the bottom line. That is the word in the street. I'm sorry that happened to you, Jake. But no, man, this guy, nobody's ever, this might be the only black fighter that has haters like that, and it's the first time it has nothing to do with him being black. He is just a prick. That is the word on the street. That is my opinion. Those are my words. You heard it from me. This guy doesn't give a shit about the fans. He cares about their money, but he doesn't care about the fans. There's a big difference. Screw John Jones. I hope he loses whatever his next stupid fight is, and that's the bottom line. Word on the street.
And a man who John Jones fought before he had the belt, Stephan Bonnar. We promised we would touch on this. Stephan Bonnar, one of the most it was the most obviously scripted, like, pro wrestling gimmicky things I've ever seen in mixed martial arts. Stephan Bonnar calling out Tito, having the masked man. Ramses, I don't know if I can do this whole thing justice. So do you want to tell the people what exactly happened during this Bellator event between Stephan Bonnar and Tito Ortiz?
Oh, everybody must have seen this shit, man. Like, not live. Nobody watched this shit live. Nobody, okay? But everybody's watched the replay clip on Bellator. It's Stephan Bonnar. He's joined Bellator for some stupid reason. He's going to fight Tito. They bring him out into the ring after some unrelated fight. There's a face-off, and for some reason, Bonnar, I don't know how much coke he was doing. I'm just speculating. He decides, him and his buddy, the buddy is Tito's old, I guess, corner mate, used to be his homie in his circle or whatever, and now he's wearing a mask and he's doing coke with Bonnar from the looks of it. So he shows up, he's unmasked. Everybody on TV is like, we have no idea who this person is. It's just McCauley. And guess what? When I just said that, how many of you did that register with? Not a goddamn person. That's exactly how it went down on live TV. But now, the more I watch this, the more genius I see in the whole pro wrestling angle. I think Stephan Bonnar is evolving as a fighter. He's becoming a showman. Because honestly, he knows this whole fight was a joke to begin with. So why not ham that part up? And that's the whole fucking angle to sell this fight, that it's a goddamn joke. But also, there's a conspiracy theory on the internet that Dana White paid Stephan Bonnar money to go over to Bellator. But Dana was like, hell yeah, Stephan, take the Bellator contract, fight Tito, go over there, and maybe you bring out some goofy bastard in a mask and just ham it up and look crazy and take a swing at Tito. Just make the whole organization look as unprofessional as possible. Make an ass out of yourself and clown the Bellator in general. Make everybody look like an ass. That's exactly what happened. Either way, Bonnar's going to make money off of this, and he needs it pretty bad, people. Like, he was, you ever seen the movie Man on the Ledge? That was Bonnar last week. They had to bury the story on the local news, but he was getting ready to jump. That's the word on the street.
Alan, did you happen to catch the masked man and Bonnar and Tito and all this stupidness going on in Bellator?
Yeah, I watched the clips, man, and let me tell you, boy, was I super impressed with Bellator, taking it to the next level, man. They're leaps and bounds ahead of the UFC when it comes to the pro wrestling gimmicks. John Jones and Daniel Cormier getting in a fight had nothing on Stephan Bonnar and Tito Ortiz. I think Bellator just needs to keep pumping out more and more of this, WWE style, and they'll get more trailer park trash, white trash, people tuning in to watch every weekday and weeknight and whenever they broadcast. And, they're going to be a blockbuster company by the time, they finish with all these promos that they're going to start having being cut. You know, it all started with King Mo, and it's going to end with the American Psycho.
Hell yeah! And speaking of pro wrestling, someone that Vince McMahon wheeled in once to get a bunch of viewers, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson made news, I think just yesterday or earlier this morning on Toronto television. I'll play the minute and a half long clip, but basically the interviewer brings up prior rape charges, and Tyson is not very happy with it. Here we go.
On television, right? In the States, and, you know, he's a big hit in the States. Big hit. Now, some of your critics would say, you know, there's a race for mayor. We know you're a convicted rapist. This can hurt his campaign. How would you respond to that? Hey, I don't know who said that. You don't even know I heard say that. You know what I mean? And I don't have no comment to that. You know, because it's negative, and you're being negative. And I met the mayor, right, and nothing they can do about it.
We actually had a really good time. We talked about George Cervallo, who's a legend in your city, great man, with whom Mike spent quite a bit of time yesterday talking about his life, highs and lows.
It's so interesting because you come across like a nice guy, but you're really a piece of shit.
Hey,
with that comment. I was a piece of fuck you. That's a piece of shit.
You know, we're doing live TV.
Hey, I don't care. What are you gonna do about it?
All right, you got a show that you're doing tonight.
We are. You know, a lot of people.
We are. Where it comes raw and it's the real truth.
Yeah, a lot of
people
the truth. Be there to see your show. Just tell us a bit about it. You know, it speaks for itself. Everyone saw the show.
All right. It's a Broadway production. It went to Vegas. It went to actually 28 cities in the United States. And we're really, really proud to bring it here. And we're actually going to Monaco on October 9th. We're going to be in Monte Carlo.
Right. Is it nerve-wracking for you to do something like this, or is it more nervous for you to box? How does it compare? I don't know. It's more nerve-wracking for me here talking to a rap piece of shit like you. Come on, Mike. Because you're a piece of shit. All right. Really, we're gonna wrap up this interview. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for coming in. Fuck you. You heard it yourself. Alan, was the reporter sort of crossing a line, bringing up those rape charges? Did Tyson have the right to be upset, or was he sort of just blowing up for no reason?
That fucking reporter should be taken out in the back alley behind whatever podunk fucking news agency that he works for and shot in the back of the head, just like a Nazi war criminal. Jesus Christ. Leave the man alone. He never raped that girl. She just, Robin Givens, you cunt of a woman. You ruined Mike Tyson's career. Fuck you. I hope somebody shoves cocaine down your throat until you choke on it and die. Mike Tyson is the GOAT.
This
podcast
just took a very strange turn.
That's a hot take.
Ramsey's hot takes.
Well, that's as hot as it gets, man. I won't go as far as wishing death on Robin Givens. She was abused by Mike Tyson when he was at the peak of his physical condition and at the peak of his cocaine use. But no, the girl that said he raped her, yeah, that was probably bullshit. I mean, fuck. I mean, shit. It sounds like it to me. But, you know, I wasn't there. But here we saw what happened. Mike Tyson versus this reporter. There was no need to bring this matter up. There was no reason to call him a convicted rapist how early in the fucking morning was this interview? And he's got to hear that he's a convicted rapist when he already did his time, and he explained that it was total complete bullshit. He should have. I'm surprised he did not kill this man where he stood there. Just break this little man's neck. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. You don't fuck with Mike Tyson. What was this guy fucking thinking? These journalists, man, that's the media for you, dude. Yeah, they forget that these are real people, and Mike Tyson is a fucking dangerous animal still to this day. I'm sorry. I love the guy to death. He's damn. That new Broadway show, check it out. The DVD, whatever. It's great, man. But yeah, if you fuck with this guy, and you drop into that lion cage and they eat you and swarm you, I'm sorry, whose fault was it really? Don't fuck with Mike Tyson. Fuck this guy, this reporter. I'm calling for his apology and arrest. Word on the street.
Ramsey's calling for a man's arrest. It's not the first time he's done it. We will move on one more topic before we get to the 10 solid seconds of sports that I really want to hear about. Ben Askren getting kicked off inside MMA after talking a little bit of anti-UFC. I'm not pulling up the link now. I should have had it up before the show started. Damn it. Basically, here we go.
UFC's had quite the
Ben Askren
monopoly the
getting
last
cut
handful
off.
of years, but really, if they don't change their tune, they're going to start losing some fans. Bellator is gaining ground on them rapidly. ONE FC is rapidly expanding the Asian market.
Okay,
the
Ben.
UFC's worried.
Ben, thanks. We got to close down. We got to close down the soapbox. Thanks for your time. It's always interesting.
Well, you guys can't cut me off like that, man.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. We just did. But best wishes and congratulations on ONE FC. All right, so.
And Kenny cutting him the fuck off. Yeah, inside MMA, the one reason why I watch it is it's supposed to be this independent, non-UFC affiliated, non-UFC Tonight show that breaks down everything without bias. But Kenny Rice just cutting Ben Askren off, it didn't sit well with me at all. What about you, Alan?
In the words of the great Chael Sonnen, yeah, Kenny Rice, you hot mic, you sack of human shit. There's nothing more disgusting than human feces, and that's what Kenny Rice is. He's a dirty, lying, probably a liberal piece of garbage. You don't cut the man off. You don't cut off the best welterweight in the world, Ben Askren. And for all the shit that, Ben talks, he can back it up. And he's just, he's learning how to be more entertaining, just adding that extra aspect to his game. And he's making like $2 million a year in ONE FC. So, talk all the shit he wants. F you, Kenny Rice.
I gotta back you up here, man. I don't even like Ben Askren and his stupid Scooby-Doo haircut, Shaggy. I don't know, but a great man said it better than anyone else. Kenny Rice, you're a liar. And you know what? I don't even need proof. I believe Chael Sonnen when he said that about Kenny Rice, man. And Kenny Rice, I don't know what he was going for here. I don't know what. The truth is, nobody from the UFC goes on his stupid Inside MMA show without the UFC's permission. Kenny Rice knows this. So, of course, he's going to bootlick for the UFC and just like he did during this interview. It's because he knows if he starts bad-mouthing the UFC and agreeing with Ben Askren, is that really worth losing every future high-profile guest he'll ever get on his damn show? This guy is a shill. He's fake. He's phony 100%. I doubt he's even watched an MMA fight from round one to its completion. Kenny Rice is a fucking liar. Come after me, bro. Defend yourself. He's a piece of crap. Where there's smoke, there is fire because he is flaming. Word on the street.
Damn, that's another hot take. We will break down a lot more news topics, but first, of course, it's time for the 10 solid seconds of sports. Let's do it. The sports world really buzzed with Ray Rice. The video comes out of him cold cocking his girlfriend, a vicious left hook. He's probably out of the league forever. Piece of shit guy. That's right, Ray Rice burning hell. We will move on, though. Anthony Johnson and Alexander Gustafsson, they keep going back and forth, and it's pretty interesting because I think all of us can agree that after Jones and DC that Gus and Rumble are easily the next two guys. And I'll go ahead and read out their back and forth. Johnson says, here we go. Johnson says, I've respected you and asked you for an awesome fight. You said some things that were pretty dumb, as if you're the champion, but I understand why you feel the way you do. If I was you, I'd want a rematch too, but guess what? You're not getting it right now, so let's fight. How long are you going to sit and wait? Sorry, I mean hide. I mean, you feel you're the best, then you should want to fight everybody. What are you waiting on? I'm on the battlefield, and you're still on the playground. The ball is in your court. And Gustafsson replying actually just a few hours ago, Anthony Johnson, there is no one hiding from anyone here. We're both professional fighters, and fighting is what we do for a living. I know it's frustrating not getting response when you're challenging someone, therefore I will not turn you down. I will be fully recovered within a couple weeks, so anytime in January and forward, I'll be ready to fight you. Now it's up to the UFC to put this fight together. I can't wait to sign the bout agreement, my friend, and show you what Battlefield feels like. Do you think Gus should wait, or do you think this fight should happen? Who are you going to be rooting for, Alan?
I think Gus should fight. I don't want to see him fight Johnson because I don't think Johnson is well-rounded enough to go more than one round with Gus. I think that Johnson's going to get outstruck. Gustafsson did the same thing to John Jones, kind of tooled him on the feet, and Anthony Johnson is he's got really great takedown defense and just heavy hands, and that's really all I think about him. I don't think he's got the credentials to stand up with Gustafsson in box for 3 or 5 rounds. So, he could get lucky, knock Gus out, but I don't think that happens. I also think that Gus can take him down. So, I would like to see Johnson sit out, fight somebody else, and eventually fight for the title just because, his credentials. And I think that it draws money and helps, keep him, building as a contender. But if they're going to make him fight, if they don't have any other matchups to make, then, bring it on Anthony Johnson, because you can't rumble with the Iceland, man. Sweden, not Iceland, sorry.
Yeah, your promo sort of fell
apart
toward the end there.
A little bit. Just a little bit. But no, man, I feel you, dude. And I also agree, man. Honestly, I don't care about Gustafsson. He's a loser. He lost his last fight. He was being a prima donna, saying he's not going to fight again until he gets that another title shot. And then they made him change his tone. Now he's all about it. Nah, dude. This dude sucks, and he like I said. He thinks he's some sort of uncrowned champion because that's all he hears around him. But nope, you lost that last fight. And hot take, you beat up women. I don't care about you. I don't care about this guy. I have nothing else to say about him.
Alan, you're obviously a fan of Gus. What do you say to those people who point the finger at Gus for, having that shady past? He served time. He did hit a woman in public. What do you say to all that?
I say they better watch out, because if Gustafsson finds them in a dark alley, in a back alley somewhere in Sweden, he might do the same to you.
Yeah.
That's fucking the word on the street. We will move on. Another bit of back and forth going on between Joe Lauzon and Michael Chiesa. We really didn't broach the topic too much. Should there be a rematch? Lauzon did win the first round on all 3 of the judges' scorecards, but man, that gash on Chiesa's head was nasty. I don't really want a rematch. I think Joe won it straight up. Alan, I'm feeling like you might disagree with me here.
Just because he won one round and cut the guy doesn't mean he won the fight. You can win a fight in the last 30 seconds of the 3rd round after losing the whole fight, just like Anderson Silva did against Chael Sonnen. So it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and the fat lady never sang Friday night. I want to see a rematch.
Joe Lozon landed a strike that caused the fight to be stopped and for Michael Chiesa to bleed like a stuck pig. He won that fight fair and square. That's clear because it gets, like I said, if John Jones had lost the fight to Chael Sonnen with that broken toe, I would have accepted that as well. That's how it goes. Those are the rules. Word on the street.
Ramses, I know you were pushing for an Alistair Overeem versus Brendan Schaub matchup, but instead we recently heard about Brendan Schaub being matched up against Travis Brown. I'll throw to you first, Alan. Jesus Christ, does Brendan Schaub have a chance to beat Travis Brown?
Fuck no. He has absolutely zero chance whatsoever. He's looked way too apprehensive in his last couple fights. I know he's fallen in love with his ground game, and he thinks he's the second coming of Carlson Gracie. But Brendan Schaub, you got less chin than Alistair Overeem's left hand. Jesus Christ. I mean, Brendan Schaub gets knocked out whenever he's running backwards, and the other guy's running backwards as well in the opposite direction. Brendan Schaub's got no chance. It's gonna be nasty. I'm gonna think that Brendan Schaub shoots for a double, and Travis Brown either kicks him in the face and knocks him out, and he doesn't even have to catch him clean. I can see Travis Brown glancing him with a front kick, and Schaub just looking like he did whenever he fought what's his name that knocked him out the last time. Fuck. Yeah, he's going to look like that. He's going to look silly, like he always does. So, I don't think he has any chance, man. I'm sorry. On UFC Tonight, they were like, oh, Brendan Schaub didn't just get this fight for no reason. He got this fight because he deserves it, and, he's here to prove himself. I'm like, the dude's been around a lot longer than some of these other guys, and he's already proven that he's not a champion. He's a middle-tier UFC heavyweight. There's nothing to shame with, in being that. Own it. Don't try to be a pretender. Jesus.
You ever have that fucking girl friend of yours, not a girlfriend, a female friend of yours, that just shows up one day at a party or event or dinner with just some meathead or frat boy or preppy stupid asshole? That is Brendan Schaub. All right. Every time I'm watching a Brendan Schaub, I'm like, God damn it, who invited this guy? Why is this happening? I did try to single-handedly get the movement going for Overeem to fight Brendan Schaub. I was very close. Then within hours, Brendan Schaub accepted a fight with Travis Brown, and it was announced after all the heat. I mean, honestly, I put out a tweet calling Brendan, he was giving everybody douche chills, and was retweeted over close to 200 times yesterday. All right, the heat was on. Everybody wanted to see this. The fans they don't give a shit about Overeem losing. Nobody does. No real fan. They just want to see this big motherfucker just get back. They want those moments, man. They want to see Overeem just beat the hell out of a guy. They want to see him destroy a Brock Lesnar, So he's a fan favorite. Brendan Schaub, who the fuck is this prick? He's just some loud, obnoxious asshole on his podcast. This guy's so fucking annoying. I don't even have to explain it to people. Everybody out there knows what the fuck I'm talking about. It should have been Overeem versus Schaub. Hopefully it still happens. Hopefully Travis Brown, quote, just gets injured or some bullshit. This is the fight that needs to happen. Demand it now. We need to see Schaub just get him out of here, man. That Arlovski fight, man. MMA fans gave up on the sport. We actually lost fans of the entire sport because of that fight. I'm done with this Brendan Schaub. Come at me, bro. Do what you can do, you son of a bitch. Word on the street.
Ramses, how much of this comes from us talking about last week? Pardon me, Shab being a little, talking about Chael, talking about Chael's coaches. Is that at all what's sparking this fire lit under your ass?
That is 100% what lit the fire under my ass, Jake. Thank you for bringing that up. And I am not embarrassed to admit it. It is completely biased. But am I wrong or am I wrong? Has anybody proven that Brendan Schaub isn't a douchebag? Word on the street.
Hot takes, and we will move on. I really don't know how to transition from that topic to this, but Anderson Silva seeing a psychologist to get over ghosts of that broken leg. We all of the stories coming down about Silva have all been, oh, he's rehabbing so quickly, oh, he's kicking the bag so hard. But this story's sort of going against the grain of what we've heard, and Silva's sort of trying to get over the fact that the last time he threw a kick in professional competition, his leg snapped in two like a fucking twig. Simple enough, he will be coming back next January to fight Nick Diaz. Do you think we see a Anderson Silva at a full 100%, Alan? You still with us there? Eagle, are you there? We may have lost
sorry,
him.
man.
Oh, there he
sorry. Here. This isn't even a real fight. This is basically, they picked who would not leg kick Anderson one single time. They were like, which UFC fighter will not leg kick him? And Nick Diaz. He's not going to leg kick Anderson one time. And so Anderson won't have to leg kick him, and they'll just have a little boxing sparring exhibition match for the main event. Both get paid $2 million, and Anderson can have his mojo back. Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
Coming in with cold takes.
Yeah, Anderson Silva, I've said it. You don't come back from that type of serious leg injury and break, not at the level that he's going to come back at. So right off the bat, the match versus Nick Diaz is very suspicious to me. I know that, it's going to be a work, people, okay? If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. You're not willing to accept reality. You're not willing to objectively look at the situation at hand and realize immediately the only way this fight can happen is if it is completely 100% worked. There is no way that they're going to bring the Spider back against quote renegade wild card like Nick Diaz when all Nick or anybody facing Anderson has to do is just kick that motherfucker's leg. Leg kick him to shit. Stay out of his range. That should be your tactic anyway. He's the fucking greatest, one of the greatest strikers of all time. It's gonna be a work. They're bringing in Nick Diaz, and all he's ever wanted, he said he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't care about winning. He doesn't care about being a champion. He's doing it for the money. He hates fighting. Okay? Like he's not going to fucking take another dive. He already took one for GSP. I won't get into that, but we'll watch the fight again, people. All right? He has no intention of beating Anderson Silva. He knows that's not what he's getting paid to do. He'll show up. He'll take the paycheck. It'll be a fucking work. He'll take a dive. Anderson will get the decision probably. It'll go to a decision unless unless Nick gets totally shanghaied and this dude somehow manages to knock him out. But I don't think that's gonna happen. It's gonna be a boring ass fight. But it's Nick Diaz versus Anderson Silva. It's a money grab. Both of these guys are done. They know it. Both of them know it. They'll have mutual respect. They're not going to go out there and try to kill each other. Nick Diaz is pretty good about that. And that's why, he's not going to knock fools out. That's not what he's known for. This fight will be at work 100%. You heard it here first. The Aunt Jimmy Show, the word on the street, that's me talking. And trust me, watch it happen. That's the word on the street.
You are on Twitter at the Aunt Jimmy Show, and I always think if only it was Opie that got kicked off, like, they probably would be offering you thousands of dollars for your Twitter handle, because it would actually be the Aunt Jimmy Show. But now Ant's off doing his own thing. It's the Opie and Jimmy Show. And if you don't know what's going on, you know what? I'm not even gonna explain it. Go fuck yourselves. We got one more bit of news before we get to, we haven't done it in a while, but we're going to do a Ramsey's fight tip tonight. We're also going to break down that Silva versus Arlovski card. But that last bit of news, we got Michael Bisping. He's going to take on Luke Rockhold in Australia on November 8th. There's going to be a whole gang of shit talking. I don't know if Bisping has a chance. Luke Rockhold is so good. Alan Ramsey, I'll throw to you first. Alan, do you think Bisping has a chance in this one?
Jesus Christ, I don't know what Michael Bisping was thinking. He should have kept trying to take out, the older guys in the division instead of going after the young, bright, and may I say sexy in a completely heterosexual way. Yeah, he has absolutely. Exactly. He has absolutely no chance against Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold's going to go in there and either head kick him or he's going to body kick him. But it's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to last very long. Michael Bisping, yeah, you can go ahead and kiss that title goodbye. As if you shouldn't have already done that like 3 fights ago. But that's another day, another story. I got Luke Rockhold by second round TKO.
No, man. I have my boy Michael Bisping's back on this one. I think.
Wow.
Honestly, well, he whooped the shit out of Kung Lee when everybody, honestly, think back. Everybody saw that Kung Lee was tweeting out that pic of him looking juiced as all fuck, and they were thinking, oh, this is overseas in Asia. Everybody was thinking Michael Bisping was probably going to get knocked the fuck out by some miracle steroid move. All right. Instead, he beat the fuck out of Kung Lee. Everybody saw what he did to that man's face. He bruised and battered that man for the entire duration of the bout. I believe that Michael Bisping is back. I think he's going to whoop Luke Rockhold's ass. I think it's going to be an easy fight. I think he's motivated, determined. He's done with his, I just had a kid, now the wife, and this shit. He's done with that. He got married. He's over that shit that always prevents a fighter from focusing on their actual career. Michael Bisping is back, in my opinion. And Luke Rockhold, I'm sorry, Playboy. I'm not buying it. He's not focusing. I mean, this guy is so. I mean, what the fuck? He's going down to Thailand, not to tap the young, beautiful women, legal or not. I don't even know. I don't get into that shit. He's not over there in Thailand doing that. He's over there fucking around and fondling and hugging tigers and shit. Plus, I don't know what that's fucking about. But he's obviously some sort of pervert, allegedly, and I believe for that reason also Michael Bisping will whoop his ass, because Bisping, he does have the English accent. He does, make horrible acting choices, but I believe that he's back as being a great fighter. And Luke Rockhold, man, I mean, he got his ass whooped by what? Vitor and I'm done with this guy. I'm sorry. The tiger shit is too weird. Bisping at least ain't into that sort of nonsense. Word on the street.
Yo, what was up with all that tiger shit?
He's fucking the first picture 2 weeks ago. I didn't even report this story or even say anything about it. Luke Rockhold just tweeted out a picture of him just cupping a tiger's balls. All right, and everybody was like, oh, okay. Some people noticed. Some people were like, man, he caught heat, and he apologized on TMZ.com. TMZ. He actually apologized for, grabbing the tiger's balls. And then, a couple days later, last week, he tweets a picture of himself choking out a baby cub tiger.
Ridiculous.
It's like he's retarded or something. So yeah, man, he's obviously some sort of like, you know, like child molesters, like just can't stop fucking with little kids. This guy can't leave tigers alone. It's sick, and that's the word on the street, and that's the bottom line.
Goddamn. Shit. I don't know how to transition from being a tiger molester to anything, but it is time to switch it over. Ramses, you haven't done a fight tip in a long time. It's been heavily requested you do one. So how about we do one this week's edition of Ramses Fight Tips?
Kick it off. Let's do this shit, man. I got the fight tip of the week, the word on the street fight tip. This one, it is related to the Ray Rice NFL controversy. This fight tip is how to fight in an elevator. It's very tricky. I've done it numerous times. We've heard about, if you read Bruce Buffer's book, he actually got into a fight in an elevator with somebody. Happens all the time. You're in a confined space, and usually in my experience, it's another drunk guy. You're just in a confined space, and he's like, well, shit, I'm running out of people to fuck with. This guy's in the elevator, I'm gonna fuck with him. And then, you got to set it off. I'm not saying you got to beat a woman. That's very wrong. You should never ever hit a woman. But I'm just saying, if you get an altercation with any person inside of an elevator, here's what you do. You got to remember, first off the bat, hit that emergency stop. All right? You don't know if you're going to get off on the floor mid-fight and this dude's homies are waiting for him. And now you got 10 people in the elevator. All right, no. You hit that emergency stop. Person's coming at you in the elevator. It's about to pop off. You do what's called the Super Mario block jump. You know when you're playing Super Mario and you just jump up and hit a block and crush it? That's what you do in the elevator. You knock out that fluorescent light bulb. You knock out the light. You jump up and hit that light. Knock it out. Smash! It'll disorient your attacker, and also the camera in the elevator won't be able to record what happens next, which is you're going to whoop that ass by any means necessary. Lethal maneuvers, chokeholds, slams, eye pokes, throat gouges, and just if you're Roadhouse status, you can rip that throat straight off of somebody. You've already Superman punched the goddamn light off of the roof of the elevator like you were Super Mario. Anyway, you kill whoever's in the elevator with you because, it's your word against the dead man's, and guess what? Guess who always wins that one when there's no fucking video? Oh, shit, if I had a dime. Anyway, but fighting in an elevator, it's like fighting in a phone booth. Literally. That's where the term comes from, after phone booths. I mean, if you saw a phone booth these days, you'd be like, what the fuck is that? That must be some sort of troll. When you're in an elevator, it is fighting in a phone booth. You ever seen the movie with Colin Farrell and Kiefer Sutherland? You'll notice he doesn't even fight anybody. He has his Kiefer shoot the pimp that attacks him in the phone booth. In this case, you won't be able to do it in an elevator. You gotta go lethal, knock out that light, and then do what you gotta do. That is the fight tip of the week. And next week we'll have another one. See you at the dojo.
That's right, people. We will get to the final topic of the night. Andre Arlovski taking on Antonio Silva in what's probably the only notable fight on the entire card. It is a Brazil card coming from Brasilia, Brazil. It's taking place at the Gimnasio Nelson. I don't know, man. It is Brazil. I'll break down the prelim fights. Hani Yaya against Johnny Bedford. Sean Spencer taking on Paulo Thiago. Francisco Trinaldo against Leandro Silva. Igor Araujo against George Sullivan. And Godfredo Castro against Deshaun Johnson. But I don't know. I think this prelim kind of speaks to the lack of depth we see in these fight night cards. Because I don't have many, certain guys stand out that I am following. Castro, Thiago obviously coming back up, Hani Yaya, but still, Jesus Christ, this is a very weak prelim card. Alan, any thoughts on these 5 fights before you move on to the main card?
It's in Brazil. Does it even count? Really?
Yeah, I gotta echo Alan's sentiment here. This is an entirely fight pass based card. So for Brazil and the fact that it's going to come on in at 3, it's going to start at 3:45 p.m. my time, midday card. You're just going to relax, have a couple beers, maybe go pick up some ribs, throw them on the grill, a couple cigars. Maybe just, fuck this card. Word on the street.
Yeah, this, I don't know, man. This card definitely lacks a lot of depth. We'll move on to the main card, though. Jessica Andrade taking on Larissa Pacheco in the only women's fight that leads off the main card. Yuri Alcantara, who's definitely a top 10 bantamweight, taking on Russell Doan. Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Wendell Oliveira. Leonardo Santos taking on Efren Escudero. And in the co-main event, a lightweight fight between Gleison Tibau and the European Peter Hallman. Again, this is a very shallow card. Thoughts, Alan?
There's definitely like some fights on there with Tibau and Alcantara, but I mean, for the most part, man, it doesn't impress me much, like Shania Twain says. And obviously, I'm gonna watch it, but it's Brazil, man. Let's be real. It doesn't matter.
I've never even touched or kissed a woman in my entire life, but Shania Twain is one of my. She's on my exceptions list. It never happened. She's probably 50 years old at this point, though, Alan. I don't know. I don't know. As far as the UFC Fight Pass main card goes, I'm also not seeing anything that I'm excited about at all, Jake. I'm sorry to ruin your entire show, but nothing appeals to me here. Absolutely nothing. Word on the street.
No, I mean, I can't really argue. It is just a really weak card. It just speaks to, I enjoy having a lot of cards and being able to see a lot of UFC, but at least throw us a few bones. I mean, really up to the main event, which as far as main events go, Bigfoot Arlovski, is that really, one of the best ones we've gotten in the last few months? Just one of the weaker cards we've gotten the last couple months. But I will throw it over to you, the last topic of the night, the main event fight. Bigfoot Silva coming back from a suspension. We thought he got buried, but he will be fighting longtime MMA veteran Andrei Arlovski. I don't know if Arlovski's chin is going to be able to stand up to Bigfoot. The guy's fists are just so big. He finishes the fight in the first or second round, in my opinion. Alan?
Jake, normally I would agree with you, but let's be honest. This isn't Bigfoot Silva fighting. This is no TRT Silva fighting. He's not going to be on TRT. And he's going to get knocked the fuck out.
Ramses?
But honestly, did you guys ever see the Universal Soldier movie with Arlovski in it as the main villain? He's apparently such a bad actor. He has no lines whatsoever, no speaking role. And you know what? He was quickly. He made no impact in that movie. He'll make no impact in this fight. I believe that Bigfoot Silva is going to murder this man. I believe that technology and science is going to allow for some sort of loophole. In Bigfoot Silva's body chemistry itself, we don't understand even that. It hasn't been studied enough. So who's to say what he will test for or not test for? I'm saying we should inject this man with everything possible and then have him fight every man possible. And I hope that this Arlovski thing is a test case. And I don't hope that a man dies, but if it's going to happen, I hope that I watch it. Word on the street.
Ramses, I just want to go out there and correct you. Andrei Arlovski, not only was he in the Universal Soldier, the Regeneration or whatever, the fourth one with Van Damme,
Correct.
He had the most screen time, and he did so well. He was such an imposing bad guy that even though his character was killed off, they brought him back in the next incarnation. And
really?
Yes, he was also in the fifth one as a bad guy again. So
did he?
Yeah.
But I did say that he had no lines whatsoever.
That's because he was playing a frozen Universal Soldier that was being controlled.
When they brought him back, did he at least say a damn word?
I think he did. He actually did have some speaking roles, but
yeah, right, I'll watch it tonight.
His very first movie, he had the most screen time.
But he said absolutely nothing. That's all I said.
Actions speak louder than words.
That movie was so terrible.
If the topic's being talked about, this will be the last thing we talk about before we send it out. Best MMA fighter in a movie. Best character in MMA fighters played. We have Gina Carano in Haywire, Ronda Rousey recently in The Expendables, of course, Stephen Bonner in Ultimate Champion. We have who else? We have Chuck
Supreme Champion.
We have Chuck Liddell, who did a little bit of time in Entourage. A lot of fighters have done a lot of things. Alan, who is your favorite role reprised by an MMA fighter?
Mike Pyle in Universal Soldier, because his chin is way better in the movies than it is in real life. Kabang!
Damn, Ramses.
This one's easy, man. And this one is like, after I say it, it's so obvious, but you people, nobody can top this one. Greatest MMA fighter to appear in a movie was Chael Sonnen. In the movie that he appeared with, titled Grudge Match, he was in the same scene and got into an action fight with Robert De Niro and Sylvester Stallone. Okay? And look, just let that sink in. Chael Sonnen was in a fight action scene with Robert De Niro from Raging Bull and Sylvester Stallone, Rocky himself, Rambo. You cannot top that no matter what. I challenge anybody on this show or calling in or tweeting me to even what comes close to that. Hands down, I just won the whole fucking board. Word on the street, I'm out.
He fucking won, and we'll end it right there. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast, themmapodcast.com. Alan, where do we find you?
Catch me on Twitter, West Lynn Eagle AH. See ya.
Ramses.
I am the word on the street. Follow me, The Anti-Me Show. I'm a nice guy, actually. Tweet me, whatever, talk to me, whatever. I'm willing. I answer everything. I love women. I'm working on something right now, new Twitter girlfriend. I'll announce that next time. Jake, thanks for having me on your show, the MMA Podcast. You're a good guy above all else. Alan, you're the Eagle. What can I say? Shout out to everybody. Love you, Katie Bear. Lexi Doll, happy birthday. 21st birthday. Shout out. Love you. I'm out.
And that's it. We'll see you next week. We do plan on having Cody Bollinger on very soon. He will be fighting Marlon Moraes this Saturday at the World Series of Fighting 13. Definitely tune into that. Tune into the UFC. Thanks so much for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. We'll see you next week. TheMMAPodcast.com and on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Thanks a bunch. We gone.